An extraordinary turn of events, and I think it is the comments of US President Donald Trump saying that nothing's going to happen until he meets Putin when it comes to finding peace here in Ukraine that really set the tone for the weeks ahead. In that statement alone, and echoed indeed by his Secretary of State Marco Rubio hours later, Trump is essentially saying that the efforts now underway in Istanbul, the pressure put upon Russia by the Europeans, well, no one should expect progress from that until a bilateral meeting between the heads of the Kremlin and the White House occurs. That is a remarkable move from a US president who was pictured on the phone to four of his key European allies, France, United Kingdom, Germany and Poland. And they emerged from that phone call just as recently as Saturday, saying they were convinced they had the support of Donald Trump, not only for a demand for a ceasefire on Monday that was unconditional and lasted 30 days, but indeed for sanctions that would follow if Russia didn't adhere to that. Instead, we have now had this remarkable dictation of events, the scheduling done really by Moscow entirely. They are suggested on Sunday, this Istanbul meeting, the first direct talk since the early days of the war. Then Zelensky said, let it be me and Putin. Trump entertained that idea, tried to cajole Putin into attending, said he'd be there himself, that Putin would like him to be there, and then it all fell apart, essentially sending a message very clearly that the Kremlin was unafraid of sanctions, potentially for spurning that peace initiative, and possibly too that Putin had successfully and correctly gambled that Trump would not be that angry if indeed some kind of meeting continued in Istanbul, but he didn't accept anything like a ceasefire or indeed to attend personally. And so we're into a very complex moment for this peace process, because Ukraine essentially is in a very bad spot where they have to continue to go along to do everything they can to make it seem like they'll pursue any avenue for peace, to not incur the anger of Donald Trump. But the one person who doesn't seem to be able to get Donald Trump angry right now is Vladimir Putin. He is simply rejecting the ceasefire that was originally an American proposal, and also too initiatives for a personal meeting. There may be a bilateral between Trump and Putin soon, of course, but the stage is now set for talks about talks. This is the second or third iteration of this peace process, and I think many in the Kremlin will be delighted at how they're getting to be the schedule-in-chief of this process and buying an awful lot of time. That many Ukrainians are concerned is simply about making sure they have the window they need for advances on the front line. Russian forces are massing in the east. An extraordinary week, and one that I think has ultimately exposed that Putin isn't interested in a swift settlement here. He simply wants a lengthy process, and indeed that Trump is reluctant, if not, frankly, reticent to punish Russia for not going on with the peace initiative he originally began. Extraordinary moments here in diplomacy, but no comfort at all for ordinary Ukrainians under nightly barrage here. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Kiev, Ukraine.